You know, there was so much in that Ruby Franke docu-series that I had to run it back real quick. Okay, there is so much more I want to talk about, digest, sit with, and have conversations with you guys, because you know how we do. We can get into it. So let's do that right about now. Welcome back to the channel for my loyal subbies. Thank you for coming back. Those of you who are new, well, I'm your girl, Denise Brady, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and we dig deep into trauma, relationships, reality TV, and documentaries. And I think there's a lot of religious trauma in this documentary about Ruby Franke and her family that we really don't talk about, especially in the Black community, how much religious trauma people are trying to heal from. Now, in this particular docuseries, it focuses on Mormonism and shows you just how big a deal it is to be perfect. It highlights a lot of these people, you know, from what I've seen from different shows, Mormon Moms, Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, documentaries about the LDS and the Mormon community. A lot of people look like they are trying to find connection to something. Okay, connection to the LDS church, searching for connection, searching for who am I really? All right. Now, before we get into it, make sure you subscribe, you hit that like, you do all the do's to support this channel. We're on the road to 10,000 and we're going to get there. Now, one perspective we really didn't focus on so much in part one, okay, is the fact that her husband was trying to find himself. All right. Somebody who was, in his words, nerdy, trying to figure it out. That when this woman came into his life who seemed like they had it all together, could lead him, I think he fell victim to people who are in the LDS church. And those people who try and leave are searching for themselves. Trying to find, okay, my whole life I've been told, I've been conditioned to be a certain way. But what happens when you lose the anchor that was holding you up in your entire life? Okay. But in this series, I want to talk about how religious trauma really impacts people and how you are conditioned even before birth in the womb. Those people around you already have expectations, what God brought them, what God expects from them, what Christianity expects from them, whatever your religion is. Sometimes those religious overtones have dire consequences. Now, Ruby herself portrayed a woman who was devout to Mormonism, to the LDS, and her kids had to be the same way. And those around her were all the same, okay? Having the LDS be the ultimate what you answer to. And over the last probably, I feel like 10, 15 years, we've seen a lot of things come out about the LDS. Some people think about it from the perspective of it's a religious culture that wants you to have multiple wives, you know, and a lot of those people just not really having an opportunity to live their own life because they're supposed to live by the man at the top. Okay. And how just constraint and conservative the impact of that religious belief, the things you are taught, really have a grip on you. Her channel showcased her due diligence and how committed she was to LDS and how LDS parents should be handling their children. And I think that's why she also was able to develop a following, because she was this woman who just portrayed, I think, what people wanted to be and what the LDS in some people's eyes represented. So much so that it's still people out there, I'm sure, write her letters from jail, prison, not jail, girl. Write her letters from prison about support, her and Jody. Because ultimately, even when these LDS leaders, I'm going to say that in some ways, Ruby is also an LDS leader. And no matter when they go to prison, the crimes that come out, the things we hear that they do to women, girls, marrying them off, not really having childhoods because you're 11. Oh, it's time for you to get married. Just imagine as an 11-year-old girl, you're married. 13, you're married. And not all Mormonism is about that. There are different aspects and overtones, layers of it. But I'm trying to see, how do you prepare yourself for that? Or is it that your whole life you've been preparing? Your family has always, you saw your mom do it, you saw your sisters do it. So now it's your turn. And so as a child, you are trying to prepare yourself to be with a man who might be in his 30s, 40s, and do what everybody else is doing because I was conditioned to fall in line. And so looking at the Ruby Franke docuseries, even though on the outside they appear to be perfect, there's a lot of secrecy. And I think what I have seen in the Mormon culture is that there is a lot of secrecy. You're supposed to do one thing, but behind closed doors, you're doing another. Right? You're not supposed to be having sex. You're not supposed to be drinking. You're not supposed to be engaging in these unmoral behaviors. But I have seen in different ways that oftentimes the way people are appearing on the outside, that's not what they're doing in the background. Same thing for some people, not all. Some people are also in Christianity doing the same thing, appearing Christ-like. But when it comes down to it, oh, I'm Christ-like at church, Bible study, all those places. But when it comes to my personal life, I'm a whole different person. And how you're growing up to be perfect. And in Mormonism and in this docuseries, perfect meant following behind what your mother wants you to do. You show up, that camera on, you speak. When I'm speaking, you are not. And the impact as a child to grow up in a setting where you have to always be perfect. How that shows up in your adult life as an overachiever, as someone who has anxiety, as someone who struggles to make decisions for themselves, as someone who is just trying to figure out, who am I really? And no, don't try and break away from that, because then you're the black sheep. Then you're by yourself because everyone is still over here at the church. And here you are deciding, this isn't for me. I want to do something different. I want to change my life. Maybe it was a different religion, but you're outcasted. And how that also affects you. I wonder with the children, and maybe I'll dig a little bit and research a little bit further into the interviews that they've been doing. I wonder if they still follow with the LDS church and how that has affected some of their relationships. Were they able to keep the same relationships? Or did they lose a lot of relationships? Because I'm sure in their lives of the house, the money, all that materialistic stuff, they would for sure give away to get back some of that real childhood, those real relationships. And ask yourself, are you a person who's ever tried to break free of religion and the overtones of how is it even possible at times to get a lot of that rhetoric out of your head? You know, the rhetoric of you can't be in a same-sex relationship. You got to go to Bible study. You can only dress a certain way. You can only date a certain way. All these things that were ingrained in you. And a lot of that stuff, like I said, happens in utero. You're hearing it from the outside. Your mother, your father, they're practicing those things that they expect of you. But you decide, I want something different. And the consequences of those things. I feel like in a lot of religious households and families, there is just this level of control and secrecy. And I've had clients who are trying to heal from families of control and secrecy. Not being able to feel like I am my own person. Because all my life, I've been told who I am. I've been told I can't share with other people. I have been told I have to do exactly what others tell me to do. Imagine that person now as an adult, trying to figure it out on their own. Or maybe you just haven't figured it out on your own because your parents and family are still telling you what your career is, who you should date. And you want to break free of it, but you are scared because this is all you know. And so some people might be watching this thinking, wow, this is my story. Other people might be watching this thinking, I want to run, but I'm scared. What is life for me outside of all I've known? The church community, whether it's LDS, Christianity, is it Allah, whatever your religious beliefs are. I think there's a lot of people who want to break free of that. And I feel like religion is starting to kind of, I don't want to say lose its edge, but I feel like millennials and Gen Z are starting not to go to church as much because they see that some of the stuff on paper and that said is not actual reality. And I wonder if some people also feel like it's very constraining to try and live in this like restrictive place that they really don't want to be. So their belief systems are also changing. I want to hear from you guys. What do you think is happening with religion? Is it evolving? Is it nuanced? Or is it starting to kind of, for some people, not be the foundation of their lives? I'm sure some of you guys believe that the problem with these new age kids is that they ain't got no religion in their life. I'm sure that's what y'all thinking. But I want to know more about people who have, in this situation, the different children. How's it been for you? How's it been for children to try and come out of the constraint, controlling, and secrecy of religious households? And one other thing I want to talk about is how Ruby's arrest really had a ripple effect in how people blog, family bloggers, and the aspects of religion. Do you guys feel like there are enough safeguards in place that the parents who are over these family blogger accounts, is there enough safeguards for the children? Because you do know on these taxes, they are listed as employees of the LLC of whatever family title is on the top. Okay. What happens when these kids don't want to film no more? Are there protections in place? Do parents really care when their kids don't want to film anymore? Or have the parents gotten so used to the money and the lifestyle, is it too late to quit? Is it too late, girl? Or you don't want to? Okay. Which one is it? I think a lot of it is lifestyle. I think a lot of it is I've gotten used to this, the attention. Once you give people who are lost, who are trying to find themselves, that level of attention, it's hard for them to let go, even for their own kids. And do you think that there will ever be safety things in place for children of family vloggers to be able to say, I don't want to do this anymore without consequences? I think this docuseries is a cautionary tale about the hidden abuse behind the camera in these families. There needs to be more focus on protecting the vulnerable people involved in these bloggers, the family vlogs, the children. Regardless of outward appearances, behind the scenes there's a lot of secrets. And what impact does religion play in some of these Christian vloggers, Mormon vloggers? Okay, you see on the outside one thing, but I think so many people are suffering and experiencing things on the outside they wish they could hide from, run from, and live a different life. But because perfectionism, religion, all encompassing one, there are no other options. And I wonder, do you guys think differently about those family vloggers? Do you? Are you so focused on the lifestyle, the things that they sell you, the highlights of their lives, that you ignore? Does that child look happy? Do they really want to film? Or are they used to having a camera in their face since they was a baby? That's all they really know. All right? I want to know your thoughts. What do you think about this the religious aspects? Are there still things you want to talk about regarding this docuseries? Because your girl can get into it. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.